I used to blow dry my hair every single morning and still walk out the door feeling like I hadn't done a single thing to it. Thin hair doesn't need more product, more heat, or more time. It needs for very specific things done differently. And once you see them, you'll wonder why nobody handed you this list years ago. Today I'm walking you through the exact styling mistakes that flatten thin hair without you ever realizing it's happening, and the one simple fix for each one that actually changes how your hair sits by the end of the day. I researched the worst style and beauty mistakes and the best fixes for women over 50, so you get real results, fast. If you haven't already, hit subscribe. I cover this every week. Part 1. The cut that's quietly flattening your hair. Here's something your stylist probably never says out loud in the chair. A blunt, one-length cut is the fastest way to make thin hair look even thinner. It sounds backwards because a clean, blunt line looks so polished the moment you leave the salon. But that same weight is exactly what drags every strand flat against your scalp by early afternoon. When every piece of hair ends at the same length, there's nothing to break up the surface, and no air can get underneath to lift it. You've felt this before. It looks fine for an hour, and then it just falls. That's not your hair being difficult. That's the cut working against the hair you actually have. Most women over 50 hang onto the same length they wore for decades because it feels safe, familiar, something they recognize in the mirror. But thin hair behaves completely differently than it did years ago, and a cut that once looked full now reads as sparse and see-through, especially near the crown and the ends. The fix isn't cutting it shorter out of panic. It's asking for soft, invisible layering. Long layers that start around the cheekbone and move through the ends, never chunky, never choppy, just enough to remove the dead weight sitting at the bottom of the hair. Here's why this specific layering works when other cuts don't. Removing weight from the ends redistributes where the hair's mass sits. Instead of all of it pooling at the bottom in one heavy sheet, it's spread through the mid-lengths, which lets each layer move independently instead of acting like a single flat curtain. That independent movement is what your eye actually reads as volume, not thickness movement. Ask specifically for the layers to start no shorter than your cheekbone. Anything shorter on already thin hair can look wispy instead of full. Ask your stylist to point cut the ends rather than blunt cutting them, which softens the line even further and keeps light from bouncing off one flat plane. The result shows up almost immediately, and it's not subtle. Women tell me people start asking if they've done something new to their hair, even though nothing changed except how the ends were shaped. That's the snapback moment worth remembering. The same hair, the same color, the same length even, can read as noticeably fuller just by changing where the weight sits. It's the difference between hair that looks tired by 2 p.m. and hair that still has lift when you're getting ready for dinner. You're not fighting your hair anymore. You're finally cutting with it instead of against it. If you're worried this means losing length, it doesn't have to. Long layers can be cut conservatively, an inch or two of shaping at a time, so you keep your length while still getting the separation thin hair needs to look alive. What matters is telling your stylist exactly what you're solving for, flatness, not just a trim. Because a generic trim keeps the same one-length weight distribution you're trying to get away from. Bring a photo if you have one, or describe it plainly. Soft layers starting at the cheekbone, point-cut ends, nothing blunt. Before, her hair was one heavy, blunt sheet that fell flat against her scalp within an hour of styling. After, the same hair falls in soft, separated layers that hold lift through the whole day. That single change in how the ends are cut is the difference between hair that looks like it's giving up and hair that looks like it's working for you. But the cut is only step one, because even a perfectly layered cut can still fall flat if it's parted in the wrong place. And that's exactly where we're headed next. Part 2. Your part is working against your volume. Most women part their hair exactly where they've parted it since high school. And that's precisely the problem. Decades in the same spot presses the hair down into a groove, and thin strands don't have enough body to fight their way back out of it. If you look closely at your part right now, there's a good chance you can see more scalp along that line than you'd like. And that visibility isn't really about density at all. It's about the part sitting in a permanent crease that flattens everything around it before you've even picked up a brush. The fix is smaller than you'd expect. Shift your part about an inch off its usual line, in the opposite direction from where it's fallen for years, and cut it in a soft zigzag instead of one straight seam. A straight part creates one clean line for scalp to show through. and one clean line for hair to fall away from on both sides. A zigzag part breaks that single seam into small irregular sections, so no one continuous strip of scalp is ever exposed at once, and the hair on either side has more root area to push up from instead of collapsing sideways. There's a real reason the shift matters beyond just hiding scalp. Hair that's been parted the same way for years grows with a directional memory. The roots at that line have literally been trained to lie down flat. Moving the part even slightly puts fresh, untrained roots at the center, and those roots haven't learned to collapse yet, so they naturally sit up with more lift before you've done anything else to them. Combine that with the zigzag shape and you get a part that reads as full instead of a part that reads as thinning, using nothing but geometry. Here's the part people notice fastest. This fix costs nothing and takes about 10 seconds each morning, and it's often the single change that makes the biggest visible difference of the whole 4-step list. Women who've done this tell me the compliments start within the first week, usually something vague like, "Your hair looks great today," when really nothing changed except where the line sits. That's the quiet power of this fix. It doesn't announce itself. It just works, every single morning, without a single extra product or extra minute at the mirror. To make the shift stick, use the pointed end of a rat tail comb at the root only, tracing a loose zigzag instead of a straight line, then let the rest of the hair fall naturally without forcing it flat again with a brush. If you've parted the same way for 30 years, expect a few days of your hair wanting to fall back into the old groove. That's muscle memory in the hair itself, not a sign the fix isn't working. Stick with it through that first week, and the new line becomes just as automatic as the old one used to be. Before, her part sat in a single straight groove worn in by years of habit, with scalp showing clearly down the center. After, a soft zigzag part shifted slightly off that old line, with fresh root lift on both sides and no continuous strip of scalp visible at all. It's a genuinely tiny change, and it's one of the fastest ones on this list to actually see. But even the best part in the world can be undone by what you're reaching for in the shower, which is exactly the mistake waiting in the next part. Part 3. The product you reach for is weighing you down. Here's the part that surprises almost everyone. The rich, creamy conditioner marketed as nourishing or deeply moisturizing is very often the exact thing flattening your hair before you've even left the bathroom. Those formulas are built for coarse or damaged hair that needs heavy oils and silicones to feel manageable. And thin hair simply doesn't have the strand thickness to carry that weight. So instead of feeling soft and full, it ends up coated, heavy, and pressed flat against the scalp within minutes of drying, no matter how carefully you style it afterward. The fix is switching to a lightweight, volumizing formula, and applying it only from the mid-lengths down, never at the roots. Root application is the habit that quietly undoes every other effort. Even the lightest product sitting right at the scalp adds weight exactly where you need lift the most. Volumizing conditioners are built with thinner molecular structures that coat the strand without collapsing it. And by keeping that product off the roots entirely, you leave the base of every hair free to stand up on its own instead of being glued down by residue. There's a second half to this fix that most volumizing advice leaves out. A root-lifting mousse, applied to towel-dried hair before any heat, is what actually builds the scaffolding your style needs to hold. Mousse works by depositing a light polymer at the root that stiffens slightly as it dries, essentially giving each strand a tiny internal support structure it didn't have on its own. Without that scaffolding, even perfectly clean, product-free roots will still fall flat under their own weight by midday, because thin hair simply doesn't have enough natural body to hold a shape unassisted. Get the amount right and the difference is immediate. A quarter-sized amount for shoulder-length hair, worked in only at the roots with fingertips, never a full palmful smoothed end to end. Too much mousse anywhere past the roots creates the exact stiff, crunchy look women worry about, which is usually the result of over-applying rather than the product itself being wrong for thin hair. Once you've found the right amount for your length, this becomes a fast, 30-second step, not an extra styling routine layered on top of everything else you're already doing. This is the fix women write in about most because it's invisible in the moment but obvious by the end of the day. Hair that used to go flat by noon is still holding shape at dinner, and it's not because anything about the hair itself changed. It's because the product finally matches what thin strands can actually carry instead of what a bottle promises for hair in general. Once your roots stop carrying weight they were never built to hold, The rest of your styling routine gets noticeably easier because you're no longer fighting flatness caused by your own products. Before, hair coated in a rich, heavy conditioner applied straight to the roots, falling flat and dull within the hour. After, lightweight conditioner kept off the roots, paired with a small amount of root-lifting mousse, holding visible body and shine well into the evening. It's a shelf swap, not a routine overhaul, and it's one of the easiest fixes on this entire list to put into practice tonight. Getting the product right sets up everything else. But even the right product still needs to be dried the right way. And that's where most women unknowingly undo all of this progress. Part 4. The blow-dry habit that undoes everything. I'll admit this one took me embarrassingly long to figure out. Pointing a blow dryer straight down at the top of your head, which feels like the natural way to dry hair fastest, is actually pressing every root flat before your style has a chance to set. Heat and airflow aimed downward push the hair in the exact direction gravity already wants it to go. So you're essentially spending 10 minutes reinforcing the flatness you're trying to fix, using a tool that could be doing the opposite if it were just angled differently. The fix is drying with your head tipped forward, aiming the dryer up and away from the scalp toward the ends, so the airflow lifts each root against gravity instead of pressing it down. This single change in angle is the difference between hair that sets flat and hair that sets with genuine lift, because hair actually dries and holds the shape it's in at the moment the moisture leaves the strand. Dry it flat, it sets flat. Dry it lifted, it sets lifted. That's the whole mechanism. And it costs nothing extra beyond simply tipping your head the other way. Once the roots are about 80% dry in that forward position, flip your head back up and finish the last stretch with a diffuser attachment cupped gently under sections of hair, rather than dragging a brush through it. A diffuser spreads airflow evenly across a wider section instead of concentrating heat in one spot, which lets the lift you just built at the roots set in place instead of getting brushed straight back down again. This last step is where most women accidentally erase all the progress from the forward drying stage, simply because a flat brush pulls hair right back into its old flat pattern. Finish on the Cool Shot button for the last 15 to 20 seconds over the roots specifically. Cool air locks the hair's shape in place the way heat alone never can, essentially setting the lift you just created so it survives longer than the walk from your bathroom to the front door. Skipping this step is why some women feel like their volume falls within the first hour. It's not that the lift wasn't there, it's that it was never locked in before the hair cooled back down on its own, slower and less effectively than a deliberate blast of cool air. Put all 4 steps together: the softer layered cut, the shifted zigzag part, the lightweight root-friendly products, and this forward then cool shot drying method. And what you get isn't hair that looks artificially puffed up. It looks like hair that simply has more of itself to work with, natural and settled rather than obviously done. That's the real goal here. And it's the same goal every one of these 4 fixes has been quietly building toward the whole time you've been watching. Before, hair dried pointed straight down at the roots, flat and lifeless within the hour no matter how much product went in beforehand. After, hair dried forward, diffused and cool shot at the roots, holding real lift and movement well into the evening. That's the last piece of the puzzle, and honestly, it's the one that ties every other fix in this video together into something you'll actually notice every single day. You now know the 4 things quietly flattening your hair that almost nobody puts in one place: the cut, the part, the product, and the drying angle. And you know exactly what to ask for and what to change tonight. That's not a small thing. That's 4 separate habits, some of them decades old, that you can start correcting before your next wash. Tell me in the comments which one of these 4 you've been doing wrong this whole time. I read every single one. Next time, I'm covering the exact haircuts that add the most visible fullness for women with fine hair, so you'll want to be here for that. Like this video, subscribe to Timeless Beauty, and I'll see you in the next one.